of all oil and natural gas traded passes in peacetime. The call will discuss diplomatic and political measures that could restore shipping once the fighting's over. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The Supreme Court seems poised to reject Trump's restrictions on birthright citizenship. Both conservative and liberal justices questioned whether Trump's order denying citizenship to children born in the U.S. to parents here illegally or temporarily adheres to the Constitution or federal law. In sports, Memphis Grizzlies forward Brandon Clark was arrested yesterday in Arkansas on charges including speeding and possession of a controlled substance. Injuries have limited Clark to only 2 games this season, and Memphis has ruled him out for the rest of this season. More information at apnews.com. This is AP News. A warm, dry winter in mountains of Colorado does not bode well for the drought-stricken West.
This is our worst snow year on record in Colorado.
Maureen Gutch is a hydrologist with the Department of Agriculture, conducting a snow survey in a section of the Rocky Mountains considered the headwaters of the Colorado River.
This is our 3rd site of the day. First site that had any snow.
And that could mean water shortages, not only for Colorado, but much of the West.
From our soils, agriculture, drinking water, all of that depends on snow.
Cities in the region are imposing water use restrictions, and ranchers, like Philip Anderson,
now normally here we'd be walking in water,
are wondering how they'll feed and water their cattle.
In the pasture that we normally calve in, there's no pond water, no stock water.
I'm Ben Thomas.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We're looking at periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high in the low 70s. Winds turn southwesterly and increase around 25 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 45. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 50. Friday, a chance for rain and storms here late, cloudy skies, a high of 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 39.
This is the highlight of my morning. Hey, what's up? It's Island.
And I'm Josh.
And a little thing we love about the Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit is that it's our go-to morning comfort.
And you've got that nice golden fluffy egg.
With a soft, flaky biscuit.
Crispy bacon.
Melty cheese.
You want something quick, you want something convenient, but most of all, you want something good.
There's no better way to start your morning.
There we go.
Start off the morning with a Chick-fil-A Bacon, Egg, and Cheese Biscuit with Simply Orange Juice. Order on the Chick-fil-A app today. Real guests paid for their testimonials.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chu. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chu.
Good Thursday morning, progressives, and all the rest. And welcome to the broadcasting center of the universe, Chicago, Illinois. This is Choose Views. I'm Richard Chu. Thanks for being with us. Welcome to the April 22nd edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, YouTube, and email me at richard@WCPT820.com. Follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Substack, and Spoutable. If you are in Chicago and you're driving today, please be careful. It's wet. It's rainy. It's going to be raining today off and on. So driving, busing, training, Ubering, Lyfting, whatever, if you're out and about, be careful. Give yourself a little extra time. There could be some areas where there's a little bit of flooding. You know the drill. Just everybody be careful and be safe and be mindful. And if you get to that stoplight and the person's not paying attention, they're on their phone, give them a break because, they might be trying to hustle to get to work or to pick up Granny and they are running behind. So just, give yourself a little extra time, a little bit of pause. That is the morning message from moi. Catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. There you can get Choose Views featured interviews, Joe Esposito live, local and progressive. The Big Picture is no longer the show. It's the Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath for all of those who forgot. And, of course, Patty Vasquez, Driving You Home. So make your way over to our Heartland Signal website. And in doing that, check out all of our shows out Chicago, all of our weekend programming, our late night programming, and our overnight programming. That's the great thing about making your way to Heartland Signal. You can like and you can share. Yesterday, we talked about a couple of things that are happening in other areas of the country, but certainly in the greater Midwest and Heartland. And I want you guys to lean into that conversation around the Pennsylvania governor's race and the Republican contender that is that thinks that the subsidies, that the GOP got the subsidies right in letting them expire. So make sure you make your way over to Heartland Signal and check out what's happening there. Did you guys check out Trump's little pity party last night? If you did, I'd like to know if you checked it out. I mean, that was a question. But yeah, I won't waste a lot of time on it because so many of you yesterday in your comments said, Richard, I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to frustrate myself and all the rest. So I'm hoping that you guys stuck to your guns because I did not watch it, Henry. It was not on my my to-do list or my wish list. Not even close. But if you guys did, I respect that. I know that some people wanted to see what he had to say. And for certain reasons, because you wanted to be able to have another reason to throw more darts at this administration and the pawns that are part of his team. Because that's all they are. We're going to get into some of that in a little bit. But, so if you guys did have a chance to check it out, let me know what your thoughts were, what you saw, and what you observed. I've seen some of the various clips that are on social media, but I did not watch it. On today's show, we will be talking to Dr. Samir Vohra on public health in Illinois. Also, Adam Klasfeld, who will be with us to talk about SCOTUS, Trump, and birthright citizenship. And Dante King on racism in America, birthright citizenship, and the SAVE Act. So at 6:30, we'll be talking with Dr. Vohra. At 7 o'clock, Adam Klasfeld. And at 7:30, Dante King. So stay tuned and get your notebooks ready because they will be bringing you some great information that you're going to want to hear. Today's question. How do we get rid of Citizens United? Okay. Maybe part of that question should be, do y'all want to get rid of Citizens United? But if you do, how do we get rid of it? How do we? What do you think the steps are going to be needed to get rid of Citizens United? I won't tell you my ideas, but mine will probably be pretty basic and pretty government 101. But if you have some thoughts on that, give us a call at 773-763-9278 or send a text to the same number. You can email me at richard@wcpt820.com. And one of the best ways to do it is to go to our Facebook page. And you can give us your comments there. We've been collecting, like a fishnet. We've been collecting comments at our Facebook page. So we want you guys to go there, to like and to share. It's one of the best ways, one of the easiest ways to communicate with people. Like you probably have somebody in your network, your family, your friends, your business colleagues that, they don't have to get to work till 9 o'clock, so they're not listening to the radio because they're not up as early. Or vice versa. You may have people who have work a different shift. There's a variety of reasons that people may not be able to catch a morning drive show like this, which I fully understand. There are folks in my family, Mike and Henry, they're like, yeah, Richard, I love your show when I listen to it, but man, I can't be crawling out of bed that early. I catch it a little bit later in the day. And I'll tell you guys a funny story that I think is just hilarious. Jill Wine Banks, who we all know is a global hero when it comes to legal affairs and our legal history in this country. She's a global hero. She's also a regular girl around the way that, you know, is from right here in Chicago. And so Jill Wine-Banks has been on Joan's show and been on Patty's show. And whenever I run into Jill, and even when we did the broadcast on election day or primary day, she was teasing me. She's like, Richard, listen, my hours are different. I go to Jill. She said on live radio, so I can repeat it. She said, I go to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning. So to turn around and get back up that early to be on your show is a little bit of a stretch. So there's a lot of people that may not be able to listen to a 6 a.m. show for whatever reason. But what you can do is go to our Facebook page and you can share, you can like and share what you see and you read and you hear there with people that you know would appreciate the message and appreciate what we do here at WCPT. So I'm going to be saying that every day. Go to our Facebook page, like and share, and make sure that you answer our question of the day. Today's question is, how do we get rid of Citizens United? If you look at the elections that just took place here in Illinois, or frankly anywhere in the country, so let me broaden that lens. Every election, and I mean every election, whether it be a state house election in terms of legislatures or a mayoral election, and Omaha, Nebraska is a good example. We won that seat. If you guys remember late last year, federal elections across the board. One of the things, unfortunately, that they have in common is that there was a heap of money thrown at those elections. And you could say this is one of those both sides do it moments that would be applicable, but for different reasons than what the GOP tries to say and the GOP media tries to say. Both sides had to throw a bunch of money into the elections. We know that the right threw a hell of a lot more, and the resources that they've used were to actually act on the infamous Mitt Romney line, corporations are people too. So every election in the country this past cycle, we'll go back to 2024 and then come to today, and the ones in the future, the near future particularly, are going to be impacted by a whole bunch of money. And a good example of what Romney said being enacted is all of this crypto boy money that got thrown into the elections here in Illinois. And these folks are Illinois residents and Illinois corporations. Fairshake is a good example. Threw a ton of money at Lieutenant Governor Stratton and some at Congresswoman Robin Kelly and threw some at Daniel Biss and many others. AIPAC threw money. It was like, going to the casino. Folks are just throwing chips around, just throwing chips. I got them, I'm throwing them. The problem with that is it's depleting the ability for people who don't have those kinds of resources that are better candidates, particularly better candidates on the right, from getting in. But we don't really have to care about them. We have to care about those on the left. So, question is, how do we get rid of Citizens United? We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT replay.
John Fugelsang. Listen, y'all, the dude wrote a book called Separation of Church and Hate. What a great title. Tell us a little bit what's happening in that space.
Well, and I'm so grateful to you and all the deeply attractive listeners of WCPT for supporting this book. So I wrote this book years ago about how to use the Bible for believers and atheists, because even if you don't believe in Jesus, if you're debating a right-wing Christian on any of the issues that divide us, Jesus is probably on your side, whether he's a literal figure or not. They don't care about the teachings of Jesus. They don't care about religious freedom. They don't give a damn what God tells you to do in the Bible. They care about conservative Christian power. That's it. Jesus' movement was all about humanity and all about humility. He was not about total right-wing domination of the school board.
Keep listening to WCPT 820. Because facts matter.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Yes, guys, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us. All right, so let's go to a couple of quick Choose Views news items on this April 2nd, 2026. Diamond, also known as Jamie Dimon, says the U.S. must prioritize success in Iran over markets. The markets climbing on the U.S., that the U.S. could exit the war in Iran. J.P. Morgan CEO Jamie Dimon cautioned that victory can't be achieved without permanently neutralizing Iran as a threat to the world economy. It's much more important that this be successfully completed than what the market does. I don't disagree with him on that. We've got to finish this thing and finish it right. The question is, Jamie, is what is right? Because Donald Trump dragged us into this war. So, you can't support us having gone to war, but we do have to put the work in, if you will, to making sure that Iran is contained. Oh, I thought we did that already with the Iranian nuclear agreement that brown-skinned dude with the brown suit had put together, and the light-skinned older dude had backed up. So I hear you, Jamie, but let's keep in mind who got us here in the first place. Baseball gains water cooler buzz from the new ABS system. I found this just compelling because it's baseball season. It may not be political necessarily, but it is something. It humiliates umpires, empowers players, and sends fans into a frenzy. It's the automated ball strike system. 1 week into the Major League Baseball season, it's already a big winner. ABS allows pitchers, batters, and catchers to challenge calls behind the plate with a tap of the head. Hopefully you don't have to scratch your head and you send the wrong signal. Umpire C.B. Buckner drew scorn when 6 pitches were overturned in one game. Twins manager Derek Shelton earned the first ABS abetted ejection. In other words, he got his behind kicked out of the game. Not even 3% of the calls were challenged through 35 games, but robot umps are already upending the strategy. Wow. Private firms added 62,000 jobs in March, topping estimates. But fewer than they did the month before, according to ADP's report yesterday. Payrolls processors said job growth hit 62,000 for the month, easily beating economists' projection of around 39,000, but falling slightly short of February's 66,000. The FAA warns new limits will lead to San Francisco delays. And this is really interesting about in terms of regional issues with the FAA. They announced new safety restrictions at San Francisco's International Airport, reducing landing rates during a 6-month runway repaving project, according to Reuters. The agency warned passengers to expect increased delays at the nation's 13th busiest airport, with as many as 25% of arriving flights potentially delayed at least 30 minutes. So there you go, guys. A couple of quick Choose Views news items on this Thursday, April 2nd, 2026. And let me give you guys a couple of updates of what's happening here. Live, local, and progressive. Of course, Joan Esposito. Today we'll be joined by Marty Sladen, reporter of the Ohio Capitol Journal, Chicago Alderman Scott Wegesbach of the 32nd Ward, and Bill Scheer, politics editor at the Washington Monthly. Live, local, and progressive, weekdays 2 to 5 here on WCPT, AM 820, and the Heartland Signal, as well as TuneIn. Tonight on Driving It Home, Patty Vasquez will be talking to Anna Valencia, city clerk here in Chicago. Car guy Tom Appel hosted the Consumer Guide Car Stuff podcast. That's Driving It Home, weekdays 5 to 7 with Patty Vasquez, Central WCPT, AM 820, Heartland Signal, TuneIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Tomorrow, here on Choose Views, my guests will include our good friend Karen Byrne from True Blue Politics podcast, Sean Harris, hopefully, God willing, and all the rest, the next congressperson in the 14th District of Georgia, and Chicago's own Mayor Brandon Johnson with this month with the mayor. So again, on today's show, you can catch it live on Facebook, where we're reading your comments so you can answer the question from earlier. Please leave your thoughts, as well as like and share the page. Find our Facebook page at facebook.com/WCPT820. Okay, a couple of the political headlines of the day that we will probably talk about when our guests are on, particularly when we talk with Adam and we talk with Dante. Here are three that hit the headlines that I want you guys to be aware of. In case you didn't know, you may already, but in the event that you didn't. Johnson, meaning Mikey, little Mikey Johnson, the one that we talked about earlier in the week, Donald's puppet, not the other word. Mike Johnson caves and agrees to pass a Democratic bill to open the DHS with no funding for ICE. He kind of had to. I mean, so caving, he had to. Because otherwise it would continue to be clear, which if it weren't already, then you weren't plugged in, that this is on the Republicans. It's not on the Democrats. It never was on the Democrats. The Democrats holding of the line with regard to not giving ICE more money was about protecting Americans. Period. It was. It was about making sure that they didn't have any further money. And as Reverend Senator Warnock said, they've got more money than the Marines do. That's insane. First of all, they don't need it. But if that's the case, let's give the Marines more money. Okay? But the ICE funding, with no ICE funding, it was clear. The Democrats had to hold the line on this. And I know that people wanted to blame them for what was happening at the airports, but that was BS. It's BS because the Republicans, before we got to this point, had the ability to say, yeah, let's take care of TSA. Right, Henry? They had the ability long time ago, y'all, to take care of TSA. They chose not to. They thought that they could politically push the Democrats into a corner to get more money for ICE and make it look like the Democrats were the ones holding up, traffic, if you will, at the airports. But that wasn't the truth. It wasn't reality. The Republicans right now, and I say this and I mean it, and I want you guys to breathe it in and pass it on. That may sound nasty, but you get the point. The Republicans are the ones that are at the tip of the spear of all of these problems. 78 million Americans voted for the dude in the White House. And whatever percentage, and I know the numbers are out there, I don't have them readily available, of people that voted for Republicans to be in the House and still keep the House, as well as to take back the Senate, or to have the Senate, that's not on Democrats. It's not on Democratic voters. It's not on Democratic officials. It just isn't. And in this case with ICE, the funding, they don't need it. They didn't need it in the first place. But to use it as a wedge with TSA, because we know, and we're not making this up, it's in Project 2025. They want to tear down TSA to put it in a position where ICE can take over through the DHS, privatize the security at the airports, which then would give private voices the ability to say, you all can't come to our country. This is where it gets really interesting. It would go beyond that to, hey, long-haired dude, Henry, you look like one of those guys that I don't like. Hey, dude, Mercado, with that name that's kind of a funny name. And the guy that's with you, that tall, dark-skinned guy, y'all can't you can't travel from Chicago to Miami because we don't want you down here. That's what it really was going to be like. That's where it was. Where it still could potentially ahead. That's why they wanted to privatize ICE. I'm sorry, TSA, because they wanted to be able to say, nah, you brown-skinned folks, or you folks that are fair-skinned with funny-looking hair or interesting name, You can't go from city to city in the United States. Our guest coming up with us, Dr. Samir Vohra. Imagine he and I, me, brown skin, tall, last name that may not fit someone's stereotypical view, Chu, and Dr. Samir Vohra and I going on a business trip together, and now ICE is running airport security. The doc and I would be sitting, on some chairs waiting, hoping that we could get through security. That's where this was headed, guys. I'm not making this up. So, no more money for ICE. Not defund them. No, let's just rip them apart. It needs to be completely abolished. And then redirect that money to where people actually need it. So that's one of the first stories. We'll hit these other two real quickly because we got to get to a break in a second. A federal judge orders Donnie to stop working on that damn White House ballroom. I mean, imagine the split screen on this, guys. You got folks who are standing in food lines trying to get goods and services to sustain themselves. And this, quote unquote, you-know-what in the White House is building a ballroom that I saw a report that said it will actually eclipse the height of the White House. I mean, think about that. We got Americans, good folks, on the right, on the left, and in the middle, standing in lines to get sustenance and services to care for themselves. And we got this fool building a ballroom. So, federal judge says, pause the construction. Slow that down. We'll keep you guys posted on that one. And then, last but not least, before we hit this break, Donnie Boy is now, by all measures, with his job numbers falling, is now the least popular president in history and still falling, with more room to fail and to fall. And I said this before. His high water mark that he's managed to get in the 40s before he took office a second time is back down below that. And I want it to continue to drop. I will say this unapologetically. I want Donald Trump to fail at tearing apart this country. I want him to fail at tariffs. I want him to be held responsible for taking us into this war. So there you go. We're going to take a quick break. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR in Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Big refund, big project, big savings at Menards. Turn your tax refund into your next big project. That patio you've been dreaming of is more affordable than you think when you do it yourself. Get free estimates fast using our landscaping design program in-store or on Menards.com. Save big on the largest selection of concrete landscaping blocks at Menards. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for all the great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With the Capital One Venture X card, you earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy. Plus, you get premium benefits at a collection of luxury hotels when you book on Capital One Travel. And with Venture X, you get access to over 1,000 airport lounges worldwide. Open up a world of travel possibilities with the Capital One Venture X card. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We're looking at periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high in the low 70s. Winds turn southwesterly and increase around 25 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 45. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 50. Friday, a chance for rain and storms here late, cloudy skies, a high of 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 40.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We have great leaders in the state of Illinois, and they are from a variety of capacities. Some of our folks that run private organizations and volunteer organizations, as well as the people that are part of our state government. Dr. Samir Vohra is the director of Illinois' Department of Public Health, IDPH, if you like acronyms. With us this morning is the good doc. Welcome to Choose Views, Dr. Vohra.
Oh, Richard, thanks so much for having me, and excited always to talk public health.
Absolutely. I know that I'm not going to drag you too far down the political partisanship, but did you like my analysis of ICE at the airports? If you and I were traveling somewhere, how if they were running security, you and I'd be sitting on a bench waiting to get on our plane?
I think partly, just like some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about public health, just ensuring that people have opportunities no matter what you are, no matter what you look like, real core elements of how we should be thinking about health and all of our service delivery across government. And I think that's partly we have a big, diverse city in the city of Chicago, big, diverse state, and ensuring that we're doing everything that we can, no matter what you look like, really to ensure that you can have options to be as healthy as possible.
Dr. Vohra, tell us a little bit about your role at the IDPH here in Illinois, and then let's pivot real quickly to talk about the 30 days of public health.
Yeah, what people don't know is that the Illinois Department of Public Health serves all 102 counties in the state of Illinois and really runs the gamut of services and programs that allow people to protect their health today and prepare them for tomorrow. From things that, we talk about a lot in the news, infectious diseases, vaccines, but we provide grants that really work on maternal health, mental health. We provide newborn screens for every single child in the state to ensure that we screen them for genetic diseases, and really putting out important educational information so that both healthcare providers and residents know what is out there, credible scientific information that helps make sure that they can protect themselves and their families.
I know that we've got a limited amount of time this morning, so I just want to stay on point. Right now, how are you guys affected by what's happening with the CDC as it relates to making sure that every day, every person is taken care of from a medical and health standpoint here in Illinois? And then what are the upsides of what you're doing to turn, lemons into lemonade?
Yeah, I think what most people have seen is that what's coming out of the federal government is scientific information and guidance that's not going through the gold standard processes of objectivity, credibility, and transparency. Now, I'm a pediatrician, have had the honor of now being in this role for nearly 4 years. And part of this was this belief and faith that I could count on that information because it was done in the basis of scientific process, right? Not based on any ideology or party, but real science and putting that into effect. And that's what we're doing here in Illinois under Governor Pritzker's leadership, ensuring that we're listening, putting out there, and not sugarcoating it, because we know that science evolves and changes, but ensuring that we're putting that information out there so our healthcare providers and residents can really understand that. And that's really this April, 30 days of public health, to put out there for individuals that we are there even when you might not notice us.
What does that mean?
Out there protecting your health.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought there. What does that mean? How is that on the ground helping communities be able to take advantages of the services and the hard work that you and your team have put in?
Yeah, so part of this month and kind of a celebration of what we do in public health, we're releasing these new public service ads with the Ad Council. The label is "You Might Not Know It," because some of the things that you do every day is because public health individuals on the state side and locally are working to protect you. You go into a restaurant, you're not, and you shouldn't be, worried about is the restaurant safe. You're worried about what you should order so that you have a great meal. And often you'll see that IDPH sign there that says that this restaurant is safe and it's been checked out. We send our nurse surveyors to long-term care centers, to hospitals to ensure that they're meeting quality. And many of the local health education programs, from diabetes awareness to suicide prevention, often funded by Illinois Department of Public Health dollars. And 102 counties, 97 unique local health departments that partner with IDPH, because we also know that public health is local, and we wouldn't want to have the same items that are happening in the neighborhoods in the city of Chicago to be the same standards, because we know that sometimes things are different. Sometimes things have to be communicated different. But what is central is that we want to be healthy ourselves, and we want our families to be healthy as well.
Yeah, there's so many questions I want to ask you, Dr. Vohra, so we'll set up a time to have you back on, because it's important that our citizens in the state, and frankly the rest of the country, have voices like yours you guys. Dr. Vohra, you got to look him up. He's got multiple degrees, law degree, medical degree. He's a smart dude, and he put in the work to better serve our community. So that's one of the things that I want to credit you on for that hard work. I always look at, where can we get information? How can people get plugged in? And one of the things that I was trying to put together in my own list of what are 3, 4, 5 things that individuals can do to sort of partner with officials like you to promote better public health. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And if one, let me just plug dph.illinois.gov. That's our website where you can find information on almost any sort of health-related issue. But I think often the importance of this is understanding that it's about trust. And, I take incredibly seriously the responsibility of being Illinois' top doc. But part of the roots of that is being that general pediatrician, because we got to get things right for people to trust us.
Yeah.
Right? When people trusted me with their newborn babies, that's not easy, because that's the most cherished prized possession that they have. And I had to get things right a couple times before, that Dr. Vohra, he kind of knows what he's talking about. And I think similarly here in the state of Illinois, and that's being honest and real. Things change. Sometimes we don't know everything the moment that it happens. But being out there, being credible, being transparent, being honest. And, I take pride, as you said, spent a lot of time in school, but a lot of that taught me that if I had to spend all that time in school just to know the small sliver of the universe that I know about, I don't know anything, right? And so it's really about partnering the lived experience we talk about, but it's really about lived expertise, right? People understand themselves, their families, their communities. And we in government have to understand that it is a partnership, and we need to learn from them. And that's the core of public health. I always say that public health is fueled by the power of partnership, and we're partnering, and we want to bring this education out there so you know what we do, and then you can tell us how we can do those things better for all of you in the communities that you live in.
And so getting out there and being amongst the people is where you take that formal education and some of the practical education to bear, so that more people have a connection. Dr. Vohra, I know you got to go. Thank you for hanging with us this morning. We'll have you back sooner than later, maybe inside of the 30-day public health awareness period of time. But let's one last thing. How can folks who want to get involved or know more about what you and your department does and the team does, how can they find you, and how can they plug in to get involved?
So I mentioned dph.illinois.gov, but I think what we're also really proud of is our incredible social media presence. So follow us on all the platforms. We're trying to make public health more relatable, and really sort of tap into the things that make all of our lives interesting. But it's also talk to the people that you trust in your communities, the doctors, the nurses, the community leaders, your local public health officials, because we're in partnership with all of them. And really that allows that trust to broaden so that we can build the kind of statewide coalitions that are out there improving health. And I think a real passion of Governor Pritzker and doing all of our best to ensure that every one of our 102 counties, every corner of our state can be as healthy as possible.
That's fantastic. Dr. Samir Vohra, who is director of the Illinois Department of Health. He is our top doc. Thanks for being with us this morning. Stay safe this week, and happy beginning of April. Talk to you soon, Doc.
Thanks so much, Richard.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Bye. Take a quick break, guys. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 here in Chicago. As I've said before, this is the broadcasting center of the universe. Chicago, it's Choose Views. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. Donald Trump has implemented a barbaric anti-immigration policy with mass deportations and having ICE agents showing up unannounced at people's homes, workplaces, and anywhere they suspect, separating families, ruining lives, and deporting people without any due process. But one company is taking a stand against Donald Trump. Greyhound Bus Lines has implemented a no warrant, no boarding policy. This prohibits ICE agents to enter the vehicle without a warrant. Greyhound Bus says they want to guarantee the rights and civil liberties of their passengers. Greyhound Bus is the largest inner-city bus system in the U.S., with over 1,600 destinations. Maybe this will lead to more companies stepping up like Greyhound is. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
Because facts matter. You are listening to WCPT 820.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
All right, guys, welcome back. I'm going to do a little bit of extra work for Dr. Vohra in terms of public health. And this is, I put together a list of things that I think that should be important to all of us in terms of what we can do in terms ways of promoting public health and for our communities. One of them is a community health assessment, okay? Creating, kind of a way for people to know what's going on. And as he kind of talked about a little bit in terms of being better aware of the services that are out there, somewhat starts with community health assessment. The other one, or the second one that I put together is health education programs. One of the things that we all know, or I think we're pretty aware of, is that sometimes the literacy or awareness around the conditions are built off of education programs. And so that's the second thing that I think can work. Vaccination drives. Now, everybody's not into vaccinations, so I don't want to get anybody's undies in a bundle on this. But the science has proven that in the right conditions, in the right scenarios, vaccinations have been proven as one of the most powerful tools to offset the spread of diseases. And I think that we all want to be champions of that in terms of preventing diseases from spreading. Accessible healthcare services, and this is a big one. So many of the community-focused programs are designed to make sure that people that are maybe underprivileged or under access have access to the services that they may not even be aware of. And if they are aware of, that they may not have the transportation abilities to get to and fro. Collaborative partnerships. So that's where we're taking, as I see it, the governmental impact or involvement in public health with some of the social organizations and bringing them together so that we're talking about healthcare, we're talking about health services in a way that allows providers to do actually a better job. Because it kind of goes back to what Dr. Vohra said about being in touch with the people. And he has all this education and practical knowledge, but getting to talk to folks about what's happening so that the delivery is better. I don't mean the baby delivery, but the delivery of the services is better. Mental health awareness. A lot of people put it off. A lot of people don't deal with the concerns. I think pride gets in all of our way, and I say all of our way, not some of, or pointing fingers. We all are susceptible to sort of burying, just get past it, just deal with it. What is the phrase, suck it up and all that. And sometimes that could, from a mental standpoint, create a problem that we don't even know is there. Environmental health initiatives and concerns. This is a big one for me because the environment that we live in terms of our home, our neighborhood, our community, but also the air and the water that we breathe. And I think it's critically important that we all lean into, the phrase, if you see something, say something. I think and that's oftentimes been the moniker that's been placed on crime. I think we have to be equally aware of the harm that is going on through our environment. In other words, if you see that there's standing water in your neighborhood, whatever it might be, if you see that there are trees that are dying and not regenerating during the seasonal change, and the list is endless, but if you see things like that in your neighborhood, those are also scientific environmental things that affect the health of the community, because it's then going to affect the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, where our kids play. Nutrition and healthy living, I won't get too deep into that. I would just say one of the best things that we all can do is talk to a nutritionist at any age and or a physician about what we should or should not be consuming. I think we all have to be willing to take that on. And then the technologies that are out there in terms of telehealth, where we are today in our technological world, we should probably, give a little bit of a lean into how technology can benefit us. And I'll give you guys an personal example in this space. I was, my doctor, my primary care physician, retired in 2024. So it took me a few months to find a new doctor. I found one. Great young physician, younger than I am. So it was like, okay. And so what he did, guys, is he kind of forced me down the path of using the technological systems that they use to better serve their patients. And at first I was like, oh, okay. So it made you go and sign in to certain things and set up profiles and do that kind of stuff and communicate that way electronically. And so I'm a little bit apprehensive of it, but I think it's a good social experiment for all of us of any age. And at first I was like, okay, I'll just, if I need to book an appointment, I'll call. If I need to get a referral, I'll call. If I need to I'll just call them. I'll just, But when I got into the profile that they helped you set up, I was like a kid in the candy store. Because, Henry, now I'm like, oh, yeah, let me go over here. And then it's referred. And you guys know how I am about information and data and like, what can I do to make me better and smarter and do a better job of serving you guys as our audience? I was like a kid in the candy store because it lets you go and look for stuff. That's how I was able to put together my list of healthcare and public health items, is that I found it by looking at the site that is where my medical profile is. Is that a trip or what? That's crazy. So technology can be a real tool for us as we take care of our health and we look at what we can do to better serve ourselves and the people that are around us. So I'm going to talk more to that. We'll have Dr. Vohra back in a few weeks. Hopefully, as I said, inside of this 30 days that he is promoting the 30 days of public health. And the reason that this is important to me in terms of talking about public health is that right now, one of the things that's on all of us is the stress of what's coming out of this administration and out of the GOP and all the things that are going on. And let me just give you some real world or life experiential points. When we're stressed, we don't function like we in our optimum way. That's just that nobody is immune to that. No one is. You could talk to the most gold medal winning, championship ring holding professional athlete, and he or she will tell you that under stress is good to a certain extent, but bad stress is not good. And it doesn't allow you to perform at your optimum level in any work that we do. So the reason that I make the dotted line connections on this is that right now, our public conversations are around what's going on with our politics. And it's stressful as hell. Someone near and dear to me said recently, I just needed to watch some stupid things on television to de-stress from all that's going on with this administration. And I had to pause my brain and hear that and feel it and go, I get that. And so when I talk about mental health and stress and how we're all navigating through that, every day we do this show and the guys have to be, they're under a certain amount of stress to perform in the best way they can. And we're talking about stressful stuff. So you know, I'm not a comedian. I'm not a funny guy. I try to throw some humor at some things and, you know, be somewhat self-deprecating to provide some humor for you guys. I hope it works. And I hope you guys can appreciate when I throw myself under the bus, proverbially, because it's with the design and the care that I want to make sure that we are in a good way. And every now and again, when I have one of those artistic moments and the guys are so great here to pop in a couple of George Benson songs on the anniversary of one of his great recordings, or I have a quip about something or a recording that's goofy and silly, it's because I understand personally the impact of stress, bad stress, and what it can do to us on a day-to-day basis and affect these other areas of more systemic health. So my little message on this as I wrap up this point of the conversation is that I want you guys to make sure you're finding ways to de-stress as best you can in this crazy, crazy time that we're in. And I don't know what the answer is for each individual person, but I will tell you it's there. I promise you that it's there. It could be ranging from taking the walks that I talk about doing, commuting to work a different way, so you change your sort of mental biorhythm and how you traverse to work, take a different bus, take a different train, drive a different route, whatever it might be. Get out for a walk. It could be all the above. Go to the gym, whatever. Read a book. But please, 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 this is my ask and my homework assignment on the heels of talking to Dr. Vohra. Find ways to help de-stress yourself in this crazy time that we're in. And if it's listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 from 6 to 8 a.m. in the morning and going to our Facebook page and liking and sharing with other people, if that helps de-stress you, I'm all in for you doing that. Why not? All right, guys, my little moments of health concern for all of us. I will be leaning into this a little bit more, and hopefully we'll get Dr. Vohra back inside of the 30-day, in this 30 days of public health that he's put together so wonderfully for the folks in the state of Illinois. How do we get rid of Citizens United? That's the question of the day, y'all. Make your way to Facebook, our Facebook page, and answer that question for us. You can give us a quick holler. We try to squeeze you in if you call. Send a text, and if I can get a chance to, I'll read it on the air. But if we get rid of that, what does it mean? How do we do it first? Or even before that, do you think we should? And if you think we should, how do we do it? And then if we do it, what's that going to mean to our politics on all levels of elections? My thinking is this, and I said I would share what I thought would be the way. We need the numbers, first and foremost, to do that. What does that mean? Well, we've got to take back the House. We got to take back the Senate. Starts there. There's not a lot that we're going to really change and then have it deeply embedded unless we take back the House and the Senate. We have to do that. Because once we do that, then it puts us in a position to first and foremost put a check on Donald Trump. Then it gets us to the ability to have our message be the stronger message as we go forward to 2028. Because then if we keep the House and not do this yo-yo thing, we get the House, lose the House, get the Senate, lose the Senate. We keep them both because the Republicans do not deserve to be in any federal office after the carnage that they've allowed to happen. Put it like this. You have a child that you're letting run around outside without any clothes on in the cold weather. That's on you. That's not on the child for being curious about running outside in the cold weather. That's on you as a parent. That's on us as adults. I don't want to just throw parents under the bus. I apologize for that. That's on us as adults. So the GOP has the same responsibility, in my observation. They know what this dude is doing. It's on them. If they don't, they're complicit. I say it all the time, and I'm going to keep saying it because it is the literal truth, numerically. And the same is true with state houses. That's why we have people in Iowa and other states that have won state elections to put the brakes on what's happening in Ohio or in Mississippi or in Iowa and Wisconsin and other states. So it's on us to push them to win and do our best to help them win. But our steps to getting rid of Citizens United, in my belief, are we have to win the House, the Senate, and hold them through the 2028 election. Have our candidate, whoever he or she may be, win, then we have all three chambers, or those three levers of power. And then we have to expand the Supreme Court. I know some people may not agree with that, and I respect that. By expanding the Supreme Court, pushing toward D.C. Statehood, we then have sort of, we've got the full table that we can work from to then push that we have other judges that will be in the right mind about why Citizens United is problematic for the country. That's a lot of work. Listen, I'm not blind to that. But that is what I think has to happen to get to that point. I could be wrong, but I think that part of what I'm saying there, and then you guys know it, is what we have to do. House and Senate, and we don't lose them in 2028. We win the presidency, and we push that president, male or female, and his or her vice president, forget all the past, expand the Supreme Court. Expanding the Supreme Court then gives us the levers that we need to get rid of Citizens United. And keep it that way. I think that's how we have to go about it. But there you go. That's my answer to my own question. I'd like to hear from you guys in terms of what you think we should do and how do we get rid of Citizens United. The number is 773-763-9278. You are listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR down in Warren County, North Carolina. This place here, WCPT, is the broadcasting center of the universe. This is Choose Views. I'm Richard Chu, and we'll be right back.
You've probably heard all those ads for life insurance. Just a few dollars a day, apply online in minutes, no medical exam. Simple, easy, and cheap, right? Now you're thinking, maybe I should get a quote. Well, smart thinking. Everyone should have life insurance. But here's what they don't tell you. Those few dollars a day rates, they're for young people in perfect health. That's why everyone calls Big Lou the 50 to 60-year-old not-so-perfect candidate. Like you. You take prescription meds, and you're overweight. Winner, fried chicken dinner. Well, Big Lou works with life insurance companies that want people like you, with no surprises after you apply. In fact, if you're a 50-year-old guy with a few health glitches, Lou could probably find you $1 million of term life coverage for about $200 a month. So, yeah, you need life insurance. But unless you're young and healthy, you gotta call Big Lou, because he's like you, older, heavier, and on meds, too. Get a quote right now at 800-555-1509, 800-555-1509, or biglou.com.
Paid for by Term Provider. From posters and presentations to labels and loyalty cards, Staples has all the print to boost your brand. Shop now in-store and online. Staples. That was easy.
This is a WCPT moment in labor. In the 1830s in Lowell, Massachusetts, during the rise of the textile industry, factories were hiring large groups of women ranging in ages 18 to 35 to work at their mills. The workdays were 13 hours long and had poor working conditions. By 1834, the textile market was sluggish. In response, the workers' wages were reduced by 12.5%. One of the workers, Julia Wilson, tried to organize the women to get their wages back, only to be terminated abruptly. Wilson signaled the women to strike or turn out. Over 800 women marched and signed a petition saying we will not go back into the mills to work unless our wages are continued. Ultimately, this strike failed, but they learned from their mistake and successfully battled back a rent increase on their boarding houses 2 years later. By January 1845, about a dozen of the Lowell female textile workers came together to form the Lowell Female Labor Reform Association. This would become the first organized union of women workers in American history. This has been a WCPT Moment in Labor. We're working for your rights.
This is a WCPT Veteran Minute. In the mid-1800s, many American women were expected to follow what history calls the cult of true womanhood, where men would go off to work and women would stay home, taking care of the house, their children, and husbands. During the Civil War, many women left their homes to join the fight. Thousands of women from the North and South volunteered to join brigades, while over 400 women disguised themselves as men to fight in the war. In the Union, 20,000 white and African American women worked as nurses, traveling from hospital to hospital, offering care to wounded soldiers, even helping to convince the government to create United States Sanitary Commission to create a preventive, hygienic, and sanitary service for the benefit of the Army. During the Civil War, women were faced with new duties, challenging many men's minds to what should be a proper woman's place.
This is WCPT telling you how you can shop blue. For all you sweet tooths out there, let's look at some chocolate brands that support the Democrat Party. Hershey. Hershey gives more to Democrats, as in 2024, 58% of their donations in politics went to the Democrat Party. Toll House. Toll House is owned by Nestle. Now, Nestle stopped giving to politics in 2020, where 71% of their donations went to Democrats. But in 2024, some of their senior leaders donated. Now their political donations, 78% of those donations went to Democrats. And if you like chocolate cake, let's talk about Pillsbury and Betty Crocker. They're both owned by General Mills. And out of all their political donations, 77% of General Mills' political donations go to Democrat candidates and causes. This has been WCPT telling you how you can shop blue.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We're looking at periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high in the low 70s. Winds turn southwesterly and increased around 25 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 45. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 50. Friday, a chance for rain and storms here late, cloudy skies, a high of 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Currently, it's 40.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive talk from TuneIn.
From the headlines to the heart of the city, Richard Chew breaks it all down. You're back on Chew's Views.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show, and thanks for being with us. Thanks to Dr. Samir Vohra, who is the head of the Illinois Department of Health. He's our top doc. Follow what they do, get involved so that you can be more proficient in your understanding of your own health and those of your family, your broader community. So check them out. We're blessed all the time to have so many smart people who are plugged into what's happening throughout the country and the world. He is the founder and editor-in-chief of All Rise News. I just love that title, Henry. All Rise. Get up off your behinds, y'all. Let's get to work. All Rise News. None other than my man, Adam Klasfeld. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Doing very well. Great to see you again, Richard.
You too. That big smile is ready to go, Adam. You've been busy the last couple of days. Not because you probably didn't want to be busy, but damn, a lot of things have happened, and you've had some great conversations with some wonderful people of late. And of course, the dude in the White House has made it clear that he just doesn't give a damn, and we have to be the ones that are responsible to try to hold this dude accountable as best we can. So thanks for being with us this morning, and thanks for taking some time to talk about what you've been working on. I saw one of your recent broadcasts and interviews that you did talking about birthright citizenship. And I can't remember the lady's name that you did the segment with now. I'm drawing a blank, but you know who I'm talking about. You guys did a recent...
Right, Andrea.
Yes.
Andrea Flores.
Yes. Talk to us about that conversation that you guys had recently, talking about basically how Trump's birthright citizenship ban is kind of in SCOTUS's dustbin.
Yeah, I think it's just ready to be stricken down. And I think Trump knows it, which is why he exited in the middle of oral arguments. And he knew on Monday that this wasn't headed anywhere when he gave his opening argument to SCOTUS, which is that the justices are dumb. That's what he wrote on social media. And you don't write that when you're fully confident in what's going to happen. And I think that Trump's lack of confidence was accurate. He was peddling a fringe theory that wasn't going anywhere. Every lower court had struck down the idea that the 14th Amendment means anything other than what it says, which is that all people are, and that all means all. Mm-hmm. And that this reinterpretation of the phrase subject to the jurisdiction thereof doesn't create a space that you can drive a Mack truck through to override more than a century of precedent. And that's what every legal expert who I've spoken to, who witnessed those oral arguments, who saw tough questions coming from justices as far right as Thomas, all the way, every single Trump appointee, Kavanaugh was asking tough questions. Gorsuch was asking tough questions. You had Barrett asking tough questions. And my guest during that conversation, I was speaking to Andrea Flores, who is a former White House and Department of Homeland Security attorney during the Obama administration. We both came to the conclusion that Trump is likely going to lose, and it's likely not going to be close. Mm-hmm. And more to the point here, that this very dangerous theory that could have made stateless tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people every month, is not going to be the law of the land. And another thing that we discussed was Trump breaking this new norm that the United States president doesn't sit and observe Supreme Court oral arguments about something that's so central to his agenda, and putting that in the context. Andrea Flores, she was once the chief legal counsel in the U.S. Senate, helped draft legislation that protected judges. And we couldn't help but view this in the context of the fact that there is a trend of just judges, of district court judges, facing threats whenever they rule against Trump, and that Trump, during his criminal cases, had gag orders against him because of this climate of intimidation. Mm-hmm. At this point, Trump must be aware that his criticism, when he calls judges dumb, when he demands loyalty from them, his supporters act on that. Yeah. And it was really notable to both of us that despite his presence in that room, despite, I'm sure, the justices being very well aware that he had called them dumb on Monday, they just asked questions, and they asked hard questions. And I think both of us would be stunned if this went in a way that even Trump isn't expecting. I think he knows he's going to lose because this is just such an outlandish fringe theory, which, as we both said, appears to be headed to the dustbin of legal history.
Man, Adam, you laid that out so well, and two things came to mind. One thing came to mind yesterday that I wrote a note to make sure I mentioned to you today, or we talk about this today. But the first one is going back to what you said about calling the justices dumb. No matter what sport one may have played or not, or a competition that one may have played, but we'll use sports because it's an easier analogy. The one thing that you don't do unless you bring in some major heat to the competition is you don't go on to the public airwaves of any sort, social media, newspaper, and trash talk the team you're about to play, and then go on their court or their field and not expect to get a behind whooping. because they right. I mean, they're going to well up and say, because the coach. I mean, I think about some of the historical things that the former Lakers coach Pat Riley used to do back in the '80s when teams would trash talk them during the playoffs. He would put the words that he was one of the first coaches that we heard about doing this. He would put the words on a whiteboard in the locker room so that the guys had to see it when they walked in the locker room after somebody from another team said something. And the list goes on of when you just don't do that. And particularly when you're going to be on their court, no pun intended here, that you don't do that because what the Supreme Court's defense was is that they were prepared to ask questions that were way above the pay grade of Sauer, way above his pay grade, and then some that were really simple, and he literally dropped the ball at the 1 yard line. The other thing, and I'll let you come. I'll say this second thing, and then you take the baton. The other thing, Adam, that I just found so blatantly obvious, and this is the thing I thought about yesterday, and I know you got a take on this. When I heard that he was going to, sit in the courtroom during this hearing, I thought about the scene in The Godfather where Patanji is about to testify in front of court, the congressional hearing, and Michael Corleone walks in with one of the guys that's one of his assassins to sit in the courtroom and then observe. I thought Donald Trump is trying to play Godfather here by rolling into the Supreme Court hearing and making it seem like I'm going to sit here and give you guys my bravado and my threat to make you do what I want you to do, not realizing that he's got a weak A attorney running this case for him.
Right.
Baton handed off to you, Adam.
Thank you. I think both of those analogies are right on point. Going back to the first one, it's interesting that the other team in that analogy is the Supreme Court, which I think is correct in terms of Trump's mind on this, that it's a different branch of government that he wants under control. So that's a different team. But theoretically, the government's facing off against the challengers, the ACLU attorney. But in Trump's mind, it's the other team is the people who are actually the refs. And he's imagine going into the game
and telling the refs,
these refs are going to call it bad. This is entirely rigged. All the calls are going to go against me. They're questioning me on, my dribbling or, you name it.
Right.
And that's, he always works the ref. It doesn't matter what the ref, if it's an election, it's rigged. If it's the court, they're stupid. And that's the kind of upside down world we're in, because this is still, even though he's going to lose this, even though he lost tariffs, this is a highly conservative court. And there are major immigration cases where he has had significant rulings on the shadow docket, but he can't help but work the refs because of, Patanjali analogy that you mentioned, number two. And what I thought was so revealing was that I found out about, I wasn't in court, I'm living in New York City, but I was listening in real time, and I did not realize that there was a point where he left the courtroom. I had to find out the way most of the rest of the world did.
Come on, man! You didn't know he ran out. He tucked tail and ran. I'm sorry.
I mean, I had no idea because there's no cameras in the courtrooms.
Yeah,
I found out with the rest of the world, and I mentioned that because it's fascinating that there was never a beat. There was never an acknowledgement that one of the spectators, who happens to be the president of the United States, had left the courtroom. It was just tough questions from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And so in terms of, sending a threatening message, it didn't register with the justices. And I think that says something.
It does.
Because,
it does.
Yeah.
Adam, we got to take a tiny break, my man. Let us do this real quickly. He is a co-founder and editor-in-chief of All Rise News. And if you just tuned in, this is Chew's Views. I'm Richard Chew. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
When it comes to banking, you need a bank you can trust. A bank with a rock-solid reputation and the highest integrity. A bank that gives you the attention and respect you deserve.
ABOC first opened its doors in downtown Chicago in 1922, and we've made our name on deep expertise, best-in-class service, and a strong commitment to our customers. We know the Chicago business market inside and out and can help you craft the perfect banking solution, no matter what type of business you're in.
And if you're looking for a banking partner for your labor union, we can bring the type of expertise that only comes from a bank that was founded by labor unions and still has union employees and shareholders to this day.
Whether you need a deposit account, loan, trust services, or investment management, ABOC has you covered. Let's work together.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
You're listening to Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. We are talking with Adam Klasfeld, who is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of All Rise News. I'm Richard Chew, and this is Chew's Views. Adam, you were just kind of helping us understand better that the Donald ran out, as he always does on so many things. He tacoed out yet again in the face of trying to threaten or provide sort of that Godfather moment. It didn't work. It's not going to work, and I think you and I would both agree that the dustbin is where this case should end up. Let me ask you this, I guess a broad question. If it were to pass, what do you think it would do to the country?
It would change a fundamental character of the country that, we have been a country of birthright citizenship. And this was something, the 14th Amendment was passed in the shadow of the Civil War to affirm that anyone born in the United States, all people, cannot be deprived of citizenship. It would send a horrible signal that our fundamental rights that are memorialized in the Constitution, that they're not rights, they're something that can be reinterpreted. Our fundamental right to citizenship can, at the whim of someone elected by a plurality, can issue an executive order and say this category of people can be rendered stateless. I can't think of anything more chilling than the message of that. And, it's the thing that is chilling is I do question whether this is going to be 9-0. Now, I think that Trump is going to lose. But, this is such, as so many people are pointing out, such an easy question. If you want to change the fundamental character of the country, build support, make an amendment to the Constitution, have a small d democratic process around it. And there's no attempt to that. That's it's saying, oh, I have this kind of crazy reinterpretation of this that will advance my goal. And no one has interpreted it this way for more than a century. But here's what I'm going to do to make sure that this group of people that I don't want to have the rights of citizenship are no longer citizens.
Yeah.
And if that isn't unanimously rebuked, that is trouble. And I don't think it's necessarily going to be unanimously rebuked. I think it's going to be handily rebuked.
Right.
I think he's going to lose, and it's
okay.
So maybe even 8-1.
So let's let's do that. And I'm asking you to do something that I know you don't know from a crystal ball standpoint, but let's just play that out for a second, and then I'm going to ask you another question about J.D. Vance in the space. So what do you think? Who do you think it'll be? That is, if it's the outlier, if it's 8-1, who do you think it'll be? If it's 7-2, I don't think it'll go any deeper than 7-2. I don't know that, but that's my opinion or observation. What do you think, and who do you think?
Alito gave very, very friendly questions to the Trump DOJ and John Sauer. I always take the moment to acknowledge, because it's, we get desensitized to this. Of course, John Sauer, in addition to being Solicitor General, was Trump's criminal defense attorney. It's just the same way I will say, when
JV
I talk about,
team.
when I talk about Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, I say Trump's criminal defense attorney. We all need reminders. But Alito was the only justice, I thought, that was always lobbing softballs to Sauer the entire time. Thomas pressed Sauer at one point on the fact, and actually from the very first question, the first question asked was by Thomas, asking about the potential disconnect of the U.S. citizenship and the citizenship of the states, which the 14th Amendment mentions both. Yeah. And that pointed out that, the 14th Amendment was designed to prevent, in part, having different outcomes of, is the state citizenship different from the U.S. citizenship? So that was a fastball from Thomas right out the gate. So I think it could be 8-1 in that realm. You had mentioned that some of the softballs that Sauer had just totally missed. There was one, and it was a very funny moment.
Oh yeah, you got to bring this one. This is hilarious, y'all. Check this out. Sorry.
Gorsuch asked him a question about Native American citizenship and how they would be affected by the government's theory. And Sauer said, I hadn't thought of that. Now, a legal analyst who I find both very cogent and very funny, his name is Ken White, and he is often known by the nom de plume Pope hat, said, that's like knowing you're about to appear before a panel that includes a Cookie Monster. And Cookie Monster asks you a question about cookies, and you say, I hadn't thought of that.
I was thinking about cake.
And it's like Gorsuch asks questions about Native American rights. If you're not prepared for that question from Gorsuch, you didn't do your homework, Sauer.
Yeah, I mean, just geographically, you would think because of the state, Gorsuch is from Colorado and the Native American influences there, it's sort of like, we all miss the bat. We all miss the boat. We swing and miss, whatever it is, we whiff. We all do in life. That's just part of who we are. And our goal is to hopefully take that as a lesson and work to get better. That's just sort of a basic principle that I think we all try to adhere to. And to not have been prepared for that, though, to me, wasn't a whiff. It was, there, in some ways, it was a little bit of a deeper showing of who this administration really is and who's around them. That's what I took from it. It was like, we don't even think about those people. I don't care. And it says to me that that's really the ultimate picture here is we don't care about all these other folks. If you're not white, straight, and was a landowner and male, we don't care about you.
Right.
That's how it hit me. That was my takeaway. They don't even give a damn. To not even be prepared that question might come your way, and it didn't come from one of the liberals. It came from a white male, from a conservative background, from a state that understands the Native American history probably better than Sauer did. That to me was a tell. I don't know.
Right. From a Trump appointee. And I think that's correct. It's it goes also to show a Trump attorney, and this is why I mention Sauer's past here, none of them in the Justice Department are willing to say something on the record that potentially will upset the boss, give one group of people more rights than Trump is willing to. And that's been a pattern of Trump's second term. You have Justice Department attorneys getting fired because they admit that the Justice Department messed up and they deprived someone of their rights. That's what happened in the Kilmar-Abrego Garcia case.
Yep.
Someone admitted in court, hey, we made a mistake here, and that person was fired. And everyone reports to the top boss. Everyone tries to please the boss, and that's not how it went for most of the Justice Department's history. Didn't go like that during Trump's first term. During Trump's first term, I didn't call it the Trump Justice Department. There were, even when in the most critical of Bill Barr's actions, there were pockets of independence. I cover federal court in Southern District of New York, and they were famously defying Trump during Trump's first term. That idea of independence is just shattered, gone, non-existent. As a matter of fact, the Trump Justice Department calls itself the Trump Justice Department in an official press release. They have his picture outside of Main Justice. We're in a new world.
Adam, here's my recommendation for every American. I said this last year. My wife and I were fortunate enough to have a couple days on a long weekend and go to D.C. And I think that every American right now, when you made that point about the Justice Department, I think everyone should take a weekend, however you can pull it off. I know things are expensive right now and time and all that. I respect that. But I kind of wish and hope that everybody could find a way to make their way to Washington, D.C. And part of the reason is, for me, and some of it's personal, historical, but some of it's also just aspirational about the future, is that I want people to go to the Capitol, not the Capitol building, but go to our nation's capital and look around at all the greatness that exists there. Be damned, this dude in the White House, his administration, his cabinet, and frankly, the GOP. I want Americans to go there and feel a sense of my action is to take back this thing we call our nation's capital, and go see the buildings. And you don't see them all. It's too much to see in one day or 2 days, but go pick two that you're going to go and spend some time at, and then just breathe in the wonderfulness of our nation's capital versus the garbage and the swamp that Donald Trump and his minions have created. That's kind of my, I wish that everybody could find a way to do that, because I think it would help to restore some folks' faith in our country and ability to say, I'm going to fight for this thing. I could be crazy, but that's just me. So anyhow, Adam Klasfeld is the man today. And I thought about you yesterday when this, debacle took place at the Supreme Court. I was like, Adam and I are going to have some fun tomorrow morning, y'all. He is a co-founder and editor-in-chief of All Rise News. Adam, send us away for the last 30 seconds. What do you got to say?
Well, I think that what this birthright citizenship arguments shows is, once again, Trump is losing. And just the day before that, we could have had a string of defeats in the January 6th civil cases, which are still alive, the East Wing Ballroom, which is on pause, and other litigation. So it's not hopeless. People do have power. All rise, as you said in the introduction. And yes, go down to the Capitol, see what we have at stake. We are representatives of a democracy, which can still function.
Adam, thanks for hanging out with us, man. We got to have you back sooner than later. Be safe. We'll talk to you soon, okay?
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, man. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago, WARR down in North Carolina. We got some surprises for you guys next week about where we're going to be in addition to Chicago and North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Spring is here and summer heat is right around the corner. Is your home ready to stay cool and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help Chicagoland homeowners prepare their homes for rising temperatures. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted expert in attic insulation, blow-in cellulose, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation. When the sun heats up your attic, that trapped heat can force your air conditioner to work overtime. Proper insulation and ventilation helps keep your home cooler and lowers your energy bills. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including asphalt shingles, flat roofs, Da Vinci, Brava, Cedar, Tesla solar roof, and solar panels options, all backed by the industry's 10-year labor warranty. Spring is the perfect time to fix insulation problems and aging roofs before the summer heat and storm season arrive. Schedule your free insulation consultation today at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing estimate at greenatticroofing.com. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We're looking at periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high in the low 70s. Winds turn southwesterly and increase around 25 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 45. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 50. Friday, a chance for rain and storms here late, cloudy skies, a high of 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 41.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
All right, guys. Thanks for being with us. Thanks to Adam Klasfeld. Check him out. He just does great stuff. All Rise News is a great place to be. Like and share and all that good stuff. Historian, scholar, public motivational speaker, thought leader, facilitator, coach, and just a badass dude. Native of San Francisco, California. Diagnosing whiteness and anti-blackness, white psychopathy, pathology. That's a big title. Collective psychosis and trauma in America. Who am I talking about? Dr. Dante King. Good morning, Dante, and welcome to Choose Views.
Good morning. Great to be with you once again.
Did I make you smile this morning? Man, did you? I don't know if you got Adam's segment or not, but wow. Some body blows were thrown to the executive in not chiefness, Donald Trump, as it relates to what the Supreme Court had to say about birthright citizenship. What say you, sir?
Yeah. I agree, and I think what I appreciated were kind of the references to the intentions of the 14th Amendment, but also how they tied it to, kind of directly and indirectly to the Dred Scott case. Mm-hmm. And they were dealing with the issue of domicility and who's domicile and kind of how that word is defined. And when we talk about citizenship in this country, all of it has to do with race. It's not just a legal debate. It's a historical pattern that's repeating itself. And at its core, this is about who gets to be recognized as fully human and fully American and who does not. And I think I mentioned this on your show previously. When you go back to the first Naturalization Acts of 1790 and 1795 and who they were intended for. And I'll just read a little bit of the actual statute. It says, be it enacted by the state and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled that any alien being a free white person who shall have resided within the limits and under the jurisdiction of the United States for the term of 2 years may be admitted to become a citizen thereof on application to any common law court. So, what we're dealing with is the issue of race, both directly and indirectly. And not only that, but we have to understand that race is a political function. And, by characterizing people who are not white per se, but who come from European countries, and because they have a particular physiological makeup in terms of an inability to produce large quantities of melanin, to characterize them as white, we're talking about the formation of a political organization. And so this country was intended to be inhabited by white people, and we have people right now in the Republican Party, and maybe some even in the Democratic Party too, who may believe that their country is being taken from them, and so they have to protect their asset at every cost, at any cost.
Yeah, at every turn. I want to come back to the John on the Native American part of this and the question that Gorsuch put to Sauer. But before I do that, listen, y'all, racism and gender issues in America is like two of the famed lyrics from the song by the group The Funkadelics. so high, so low you can't get under it, so high you can't get over it. Racism would be the fill-in, if you will, for those lyrics. And it's true. It is so deep you can't get under it because it's everywhere. And it's so high you can't get over it because it's pervasive from so many people, for so many people. So, shout out to you once again, Dante, for reading text about what the Constitution says about this thing called racism and then citizenship. It is clear to me right now that it is this conversation comes back to something that a lot of people just don't want to deal with. And I said it earlier, I'll say it again. You write about it, you speak about it. It is designed to keep a certain group of people, this conversation around birthright citizenship, from not being a part of the country. And it is designed to have only a select group of people be the ones that are not only in power, but in the country. And so that's why I think this thing is going to cave in on itself. But the question I want to ask you pointedly is this. What do you think will be the ruling? And I asked Adam this question, we talked about it, but what do you think will be the ruling? First of all, do you think that it will pass? And secondly, if it doesn't pass, what do you think will be the numbers in terms of the 9 justices and how they'll vote?
Well, based on what I heard yesterday from justices like Amy Coney Barrett, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh, which I was really surprised. I feel as though they're going to reject Sarr's argument. They're going to reject this whole idea because it's too, how can I say this? This is too political for them, I think, and that's why they were walking a fine line in terms of the interpretation of the 14th Amendment, because, and what I especially appreciated was the reference to Dred Scott, where they talked about how the Supreme Court 1857, that black people could never be citizens of the United States, right? That wasn't just a bad decision. It was a declaration about the structure of the country. Dred Scott didn't fail the Constitution. The Constitution, as interpreted through white supremacy, failed black humanity at that point. And so they were saying, how when the 14th Amendment was introduced, it was really dealing with trying to reverse that decision that had occurred just 11 years earlier in 1857. And so I don't think that this is going to pass by any means, right? One more thing I'd like to point out briefly is that in my books, I argue that American law has never been neutral. It functions as a system that organizes power, identity, and belonging through what I describe as a form of collective psychopathy, where harm is normalized and denied at the same time. And so in my book, Diagnosing Whiteness, I deal with systems of law that are rooted in anti-Blackness and white supremacy as foundational structures. And then in the Psychopathy of Whiteness, which is my latest book that just was released in February, I talk about how American identity itself operates as a constructed system of domination disguised as civilization. And right now, we want to, this country is attempting, and the Republican Party is attempting to rid this country of black and brown people, particularly immigrants, but also black African Americans as well.
Yeah. When I think about your work and I think about how deeply you go into the conversation, one of the things that comes to mind, Dante, and as it relates to anti-Blackness and the so-called white supremacy and empowering whiteness and white, I can't even say the word, say it for me, Dante, I always mess it up.
That's okay. Psychopathy.
Yeah. Is what Toni Morrison talks about in one of her interviews, where she basically said that the psychosis that has to prop up whiteness and racism and white supremacy takes away the entire identity of so much of whiteness in America. Do you know what I'm talking about when she spoke about that?
Yes, absolutely. I'll tell you, I saw that interview probably 10, 11 years ago, and I was involved in my Yes, I was involved in my research journey at that time, and seeing that interview, because the thing that struck me in particular was when she says it's like a profound neurosis that no one has ever studied, for what it is. And I'm going, oh my goodness, she is right. Yep. She is right. And I recently had one of my students say to me, Dante, what you are teaching us is just incredible. She goes, because and her name is Danielle Cooper, but she says the level of effort that's been put into race and racism is just incredible. It's hard to even, wrap your mind around. And so this function, right, infusing, for example, Black inferiority into academic institutions throughout the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries, where you had phrenology, polygenism, physiognomy, eugenics, where all people dedicating their lives to their insecurities because they understand that they are not superior at all, and that superiority has to be manufactured. And even when we go to the words, for example, of President Abraham Lincoln, where he says, I will say then that I am not nor ever have been in favor of bringing about in any way the social and political equality of the white and black races, that I am not nor ever have been in favor of making voters or jurors of Negroes. He's using verbs, right? He understands that this position of superiority has to be manufactured. And he goes on, he says, I will say, in addition to this, that there's a physical difference between the white and black races, which I believe will forever forbid the two races living together on terms of social and political equality. And inasmuch as they cannot so live while they do remain together, there must be the position of superior and inferior. And I, as much as any other man, any other white man, am in favor of having the superior position assigned to the white race. It's got to be manufactured. So how do you do that? You use every institution to take adverse actions against black people. Yeah. And you you create a society where disparate treatment is the norm. You have the ability to control not only legality, but education, economic policy, who gets what, who gets assigned to what position, who can and cannot.
And the key word there is assigned. And this is why when I talk to people and I hear, and I do my best, I'm always kind of, I believe I'm always in mode of correction. Like, okay, let me clean that up. Let me correct that. Let me make it as best as I can for myself and for things that I hear. When I hear people, the use of white supremacy, even from the quote unquote, those of us in the center or the left saying, the white supremacists, I think that right there, just the way in which it's used almost like a drink of water in and of itself is so detrimental where people that are fighting it say white supremacy or white supremacists. In my mind, Dante, and this may sound a little bit egotistical for you all, so give me a little bit of a wider fairway here. There's nobody superior to me. And at the same time, I don't feel I'm superior to anybody else. So the assignment of that regality, if you will, by Lincoln's words, it proves that it's baked into nothing that's real. It's a pie with it's a pie or a cake with no bottom to the pan. So the only way to make the pie work is you got to create a bottom so that people believe that it was always there and that it always existed. And that to me is why the psychopathy, see, I got it right that time, is so incredibly important. And we so appreciate the work that you do to educate us. Dante, we got to take a little bit of a break. So sit tight and hang with us, man. We're going to take a tiny break. We're talking with Dante King. All I can say is you just got to follow the dude. I'm Richard Chu. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Chu's Views on WCPT here in Chicago and down in North Carolina, WARR. We'll be right back.
Snapshot from Progressive wasn't created for just anybody. Oh no, we made it for you. Smooth accelerators. When that light turns green, you're off. Like a warm knife through firm butter. Going from 0 to the speed limit in an appropriate amount of time. Sure, your car has horsepower, but your horses prance around as silky smooth as your right foot. Fancy Prancerton. With Snapshot, safe drivers like you get personalized rates based on your driving habits. Sign up today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Snapshot not available in California or from all agents.
Here's a tale of Becky. Didn't know what to do with new meds prescribed and no real cost clue.
She squinted at prices, that can't be right. Then tapped GoodRx and saw the light.
She could get a deal. Book telehealth if she feel.
Learn about those meds without any stress. That one little app does all the rest. Even my horse downloaded it. Dang, save time and money on prescriptions.
Check GoodRx. GoodRx is not insurance.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the broadcasting center of the universe, WCPT here in Chicago. I'm Richard Chew, and this is Chew's Views. We are talking with Dante King, author, scholar, public motivational speaker. Doc, I got to ask you this question, and I'm going to pivot a little bit, but it's in the same car but a different seat. Is non-citizen voting actually a problem in America? So you know where I'm going, and that's for us to talk a little bit about the racist and sexist legs of the SAVE Act. You go for it.
It hasn't been, and that's what people who study elections, voting statistics, statistics around illegal voting. They've all concluded like this is a moot issue. It's not anything that there needs to be concerns about because non-citizens do not have the right to vote, and they're although there may be instances of fraud, they're very, very. There's not any evidence that's proving that illegal voting or fraud is a big issue at all. The point of all of this is to ensure that racist white supremacists remain in power. This country has always been a fascist country, and we have seen over the last I would say the last decade, because it started but it was amplified in Donald Trump's first term when he talked about how, when Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're sending rapists and murderers and all of these things. So that rhetoric and propaganda started then. But it has been amplified, incredibly in an insurmountable way in this current term, in the ways that Project 2025 was attempted to be implemented, has been implemented to a degree, throughout the last year and some months. And so this is about maintaining power and ensuring that Black and brown people are not able to have as much political power as we currently have and hold. So it's not even just this one strategy of deciding birthright citizenship, but it's also, talks that ICE might be dispatched or just, dispersed to go to certain polling places in the upcoming election. So there are all types of strategies being used right now to sustain and maintain white power.
Yeah, there's no question that it is built-in racism, and then sexism actually follows that. So ladies, don't be offended, but it's built out of racism first, and sexism is right there. They're kind of A and B in the same presentation. Dante, this is interesting. I was looking at some numbers as it relates to where we are as a country. And this comes from some research through The Economist. Let me put my glasses back on. I can't read. The question basically was asked, is the country better off when diversity is strong and when race relations are moving forward? And this is really interesting. Republicans, 59% of Republicans who say they are MAGA supporters, 40% say increased diversity makes the country worse off, while 21% better off. In contrast, 30% of Republicans who aren't MAGA supporters or more likely to say growing diversity makes the U.S. better. By contrast to all of that, 45% of Americans think that increasing racial and ethnic diversity in the United States makes the country a better place to live. And Democrats overwhelmingly say that increasing diversity makes the country a better place to live, in the range of 73%. What are your observations there? And I know I threw a lot of numbers at you.
Well, I think, and I hope no one takes offense to this, but I think that white people live in a bubble of perpetual, or in a state of perpetual delusion. And I talk about this in my book as well, because living here in America, there's really a lack of focus on the international geopolitical context, but also how, for example, this country uses and exploits people who would be characterized as non-white to feed the economic structure, to feed the American economy. And that's any and everything from how jobs in banking have been transferred over to places like the Philippines, the call centers, which started, I would probably say, between 20, 30 years ago, call centers being taken out of the U.S. You can access cheaper labor in other places. And so, there are also, for example, engineers, tech people in places like India, in China, who contribute and feed. They may be, American, but they are situated around the world. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, some of these people are not even American, but they may have visas that allow them to work in ways that contribute to the American economy. And so this idea that diversity is somehow bringing down the country, when you can look at the statistics and you can see in places like Arkansas, in Mississippi, where, even by American standards of education, these states are suffering. And you've got very low functioning, educational systems and also horrendous educational outcomes in places like Arkansas, in places like Mississippi, Alabama, because white people don't have to be exceptional. When you are fed this idea that all you have to be is white, and that makes you superior and that makes you great, you can be mediocre, you can be inadequate, right? We see that in terms of the people that Donald Trump has appointed in his second term. Pam Bondi, I don't think she could answer a true legal question or come up with a legal theory by herself if she had to save her life. That is true for Pete Hegseth. That is true for Kash Patel. All of these people are not, by American standards, qualified to be in their role. So, I just don't. I think again, there people. Go ahead.
I'm going to push the nerve with you a little bit. When we say American standard, and I'm not calling you out, I'm just saying. We both can chew on this one. By American standards. See, that's the problem. That's part of the problem. I knew I'd get you on that one. That's part of the problem, Dante. What is the American standard? We've been led to believe that it's X, but then we see a complete opposite of that. And look at the current administration. If the American standard is so-called excellence and greatness and all these other words to describe it, that we've sort of been led to believe that that's the case, then what we are showing right now is polar opposites of the so-called American standard, which may not have been that high in the first damn place. Because we look at the mediocrity of decades, centuries of people that have gotten to where they are because of legacy, because of privilege, and a standard that really has never actually been met across the board. Because if it were to be met, which I think of as the real leveling the playing field, then the true cream would rise to the top. But that's not really what the country has stood for. And for all those folks out there getting your undies in a bundle and snatching off your garments right now, let me tell you something. That is not about me denigrating the country that I love. I started the show off today talking about the country that I love and how to make it better. It is about saying, to make it better, we really have to level the playing field and stop fooling ourselves that there's these people that were born into that are born as the excellent ones in our country. They're not. They're absolutely not. And so that's I just wanted to mess with you on that in terms of, the American standard. I mean, what the hell is the American standard? Because we have never leveled the playing field so that the cream can rise to the top. Anyhow, man, I just go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and I hope people can follow me. My website is DanteKing.com, but I've also been writing a lot lately on Substack. So people can locate me on Substack too, at Dante King. But the point that I wanted to make is the American standard is currently and has always been force. European domination did not occur because Americans outsmarted indigenous people in this country. They had weaponry. Yep. And right now we're trying to rely on the same political playbook, or which is going to different regions around the world and using force.
Yep.
And we're seeing that playbook is not working in the yes.
It's played out. Because listen, we got to wrap up in a second, so I'm just going to say this real quickly and give you the last minute or so. Iran is not playing. We can walk in there and pretend like we're the badasses in this moment, but Iran is not playing. We're going to lose some precious souls, irrespective of their political, where they sit politically, and even in the military. Some lives are going to be lost. It's going to be disgusting, and it's going to be awful. But we are not powerless. We have to fight, as you do so much, Dante, and do such a great job of it. We got to wrap up the show today, but I wanted to thank you for being on. As always, you're a powerful voice in this space and in this moment. One last time, how can people find you and plug into the work that you're doing?
Thank you. I appreciate always being on your show. Please go to DanteKing.com. That's DanteKing.com. You can also locate me on Instagram at Dante D. King Official. And then also, please follow my Substack. Please follow and subscribe to it. I'm writing a lot on current events. Thank you so much, Richard.
Always, my man. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon. Dante King, y'all. Make sure you check him out on all the socials. Talk to you soon, man. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So listen, as we wrap up today, guys, I want to leave you with this. How do we get rid of Citizens United? That was a question of the day. Send us a text, send us an email, go to our Facebook page, and let us know what you think about what we can do to end Citizens United. Other than that, stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. Take a deep breath, because tomorrow, guess what? We're going to make your life count. Mayor Johnson, Karen Byrne, and who else? Sean Harris. We'll see you tomorrow.
WCPT replay.
I worked all day updating my office on what's going on with ICE agents. These are animals. There's video of them tasing a man who was already zip tied in a vehicle, and they tased him because what? They didn't like the way he was behaving, or he was already zip tied. Not to mention a 1-year-old who was exposed to tear gas as her parents were running errands, as they were also, by the way, chasing down an 11-year-old girl. I'm not going to say I'm sorry for calling them animals who won't even share their badge numbers, their names, or their faces with us. Spare me for their protection, as though there aren't judges, police officers, FBI, all the different areas of law enforcement and our justice system who do put themselves on the line. We've had judges whose families have been killed in their homes. So you're telling me that an ICE agent is feeling a little bit, are they feeling vulnerable?
Keep listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Just now, another kid dropped out of school. There's one every 20 seconds. If we do nothing, 3.5 million kids won't receive a diploma over the next 4 years. But there is someone who can change that. You. United Way knows that kids who have a caring adult in their life are more likely to make it. So make a pledge. Tutor. Mentor. Volunteer to read with children. And the difference between a dropout and a graduate could be you. Take the pledge to volunteer now at unitedway.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Computers are a wonderful tool, but every day children are sexually solicited online.
Protect your kids online. Visit cybertipline.com. Help delete online predators. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need, delivered when and where you need them. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. Iran's parliament speaker says 7 million Iranians are ready to fight any U.S. ground invasion of the Islamic Republic. It's unclear where his figure comes from, but state media and text message campaigns have urged people to volunteer. Mohammed Bagher Khalibaf, who's been discussed as a possible negotiating partner with the U.S., has offered a series of online posts challenging America since the war began. President Trump has repeatedly criticized NATO and again raised the idea of leaving the alliance during a private lunch yesterday. But any withdrawal would require congressional approval, a prospect Senate Majority Leader John Thune said today would be difficult. Oil prices rose more than 10%, and U.S. futures tumbled today after Trump said in his first national address since the Iran war began that the U.S. would escalate its campaign in the coming weeks. AP correspondent Julie Walker reports a U.S. reporter who was kidnapped in Baghdad was known for pursuing gutsy, low-budget assignments.
American freelance journalist Shelley Kittleson was often working without formal assignments on shoestring budgets, heading to lawless corners of Iraq. On Tuesday, surveillance video shows her being forced into a car by two men on a busy Baghdad street. Iraqi security forces chased them and caught one. U.S. officials say Kittleson had been told there were kidnapping threats against her, and they believe she was taken by Kataib Hezbollah, an Iran-linked Iraqi militia. Friends and fellow journalists say the 49-year-old, who was originally from Wisconsin, built an admirable career across the Middle East and has always been gutsy. I'm Julie Walker.
The Artemis II mission has begun. It's NASA's first trip to the moon in 53 years. The 4 astronauts are traveling several thousand miles beyond the moon, will then hang a U-turn and return back to Earth. The rocket blasted off from Kennedy Space Center in Florida yesterday. This is AP News.
AP Sports, I'm Gethin Cool Ball. Victor Wembanyama amassed 41 points and 18 rebounds to lead the Spurs to their 10th straight win, 127-113 against the Warriors.
We still want to attack 82 games, so we can't miss out on games like this.
Jaylen Brown's 43 points powered the Celtics past the Heat 147-129. DeMar DeRozan scored 28 to pass Dominique Wilkins for 17th place on the NBA's all-time scoring list. College basketball, Kansas men's coach Bill Self is returning for a 24th season with the Jayhawks. MLB, Paul Goldschmidt hit a 3-run homer in the Yankees' 5-3 win over the Mariners. Sandy Alcantara threw the first complete game of the MLB season with a 93-pitch shutout in the Marlins' 10-0 rout of the White Sox, and Tiger Woods has formally turned down the Ryder Cup captaincy as he steps away from golf activities.
I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. A wind advisory will go into effect here this afternoon. We're looking at periods of showers and thunderstorms here for today with cloudy skies, a high in the low 70s. Winds turn southwesterly and increased around 25 to 30 miles per hour, gusting as high as 45. Then for tonight, we'll have a chance for showers and thunderstorms, cloudy, a low near 50. Friday, a chance for rain and storms here late, cloudy skies, a high of 62. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Currently, it's 43.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Spring is here and summer heat is right around the corner. Is your home ready to stay cool and energy efficient? At Green Attic, they help Chicagoland homeowners prepare their homes for rising temperatures. With over 15 years of experience and more than 1,000 five-star reviews, Green Attic is a trusted expert in attic insulation, blow-in cellulose, spray foam, crawl space encapsulation, mold remediation, and solar attic fan installation. When the sun heats up your attic, that trapped heat can force your air conditioner to work overtime. Proper insulation and ventilation helps helps keep your home cooler and lowers your energy bills. Green Attic also offers full-service roofing through Green Attic Roofing, including asphalt shingles, flat roofs, Da Vinci, Brava, Cedar, Tesla solar roof, and solar panels options, all backed by the industry's 10-year labor warranty. Spring is the perfect time to fix insulation problems and aging roofs before the summer heat and storm season arrive. Schedule your free insulation consultation today at greenattic.com or get an instant roofing estimate at greenatticroofing.com. Green Attic, healthy home, happy family.
Loading the kids in the car, brokering peace in the back seat, mastering the snack handoff without even looking. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. We work with independent agents who keep insurance simple, so you can worry about more important things, like figuring out what's growing in that cup holder. That's simple human sense.
In Will and DuPage County, contact Fazio Insurance at 815-727-2611 or FazioInsurance.com.
After serving in the military, life can seem like an endless loop. But the cycle can be broken. You're not alone. Visit MakeTheConnection.net to learn more.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
The Sports Cubicle. Economics professor at Smith College, Massachusetts, Andrew Zimbalist.
Look at this, minus 45 points. Illinois. And George W. Bush at this point in term 2. The Iraq War was weighing him down at minus 37. And worse than Richard Nixon, when, of course, there were all those impeachment hearings back in 1974 at minus 36.